And finally, Graham Salisbury has been to visit the newest addition to a local zoo.
The Cotswold Wildlife Park in Burford is home to a large number of exotic animals from all over the world. But it has recently become the new home for a large and rather special guest. Meet Darwin, the Aldabra giant land tortoise. He's the first ever tortoise to be donated by the Seychelles government to the UK and is part of a pioneering conservation and education project between the Seychelles National Botanical Gardens and Cotswold Wildlife Park. Aldabra tortoises originate from the coral atoll that forms part of the Seychelles island chain in the Indian Ocean, located just under 1,000 miles from the African coast. By the end of the 19th century, human settlers had hunted them to near extinction, and until very recently they were listed as an endangered species.
With the giant tortoises, they suffered from tasting quite nice and lasting a long time on ships. Some were on ships turned upside down for over 2 years and they'll stay alive like that. So what you've got is a source of fresh meat. At times of scurvy and all other problems on boats, tortoises seem like the ideal takeaway.
Fortunately for Darwin, Aldabra tortoises are now protected under international law. But how did he get from this to this?
Well, we got contacted, funnily enough, by the Seychelles Tourist Board. A giant tortoise is quite an impressive figure, so we'll use that. We'll use the fact that they are pretty amenable, pretty friendly. They thrive in captivity, providing you get a few little bits right. So we'll use them really as a spearhead of a campaign to raise awareness on the Seychelles, on giant tortoises, and on conservation in general. So that's really they're the shop front of their wild cousins.
So after travelling such a long way and being so far from home, I wanted to know how Darwin was settling in. I spoke to reptile keeper James Reynolds about how Darwin actually got here.
He arrived in a massive crate, which was massive obviously for a big tortoise, and it was big enough so he wasn't gonna sort of thrash about and stuff like that. And to our amazement, the crate weighed about 150 kilos as well as this guy, which is again another 150 kilos. So it was a bit of a problem getting him out of the truck. And then we slowly but surely introduced him with the group, and he settled in really fine, surprisingly well. Yeah, he's on a 30-year contract, so he's here for us for 30 years, and then he'll eventually go back to the Seychelles.
The project was masterminded by Seychelles Tourism Ambassador Georgia Dunlop. I asked her about the genesis of the project.
Well, on Mahi, the main island of Seychelles, the Botanical Gardens has a small captive bred colony of giant tortoises, and I managed to secure one through the Ministry of Environment and Energy. We would like the people to visit the Cotswold Wildlife Park and gain an interest in Darwin and the Seychelles Islands and its environment.
So now Darwin is here, what are the park's plans for him?
We can use it for conservation purposes and also actually for breeding, because you do need two males to fight and jostle to get themselves into breeding condition with the females. Poor old George, who we've already got, who thought his luck was in with these two females, actually it really isn't conducive to successful breeding. You do need that bit of fighting, a bit like the pub on a Friday night, I should think, yeah, to make it all work a little bit better.
So if the park's plans are successful and they do manage to breed these creatures in the UK for the first time, they may need to shell out for a larger enclosure. This is Graham Salisbury for Brookes TV News.